Hey, it's Anna and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing my May book haul, or my second May book haul. Just can't stop buying books. So first up I have Even the Darkest Stars by Heather Fawcett. It's published September last year. It's a YA fantasy, first in a series of I don't know how many, at least 2 though. Kansan has always dreamed of being a royal explorer, people who are elite climbers tasked with mapping the wintry mountainous empire and spying on its enemies. And she gets her chance when the mysterious and eccentric River Shara, the royal explorer, shows up in her village and hires her to climb Raksha, which is the tallest, deadliest mountain in the empire. They're on a mission to retrieve a rare talisman. Her sister joins a rival explorer, and Kansan has to decide if it's more important to help protect her sister from the dangers of Raksha, or if it's more important to beat her to the top. So apparently there are dark secrets, and she has to unravel the truth of the mission, etc, etc. All the while trying to stay alive on a very unforgiving, dangerous mountain. It's not something I'd normally go for, but I'm feeling in the mood to branch out a bit. It's still YA, but... Next up is Clockwork Boys by T. Kingfisher. It's another first in the series. It's a fantasy, sci-fi, steampunk kind of thing. A paladin, an assassin, a forger, and a scholar all set out on an espionage mission to unravel the secrets of the Clockwork Boys, who are mechanical soldiers from the neighbouring kingdom who threaten the Dowager's city. If they succeed, they will be pardoned for their crimes, but they have to live long enough to be pardoned. It's basically a suicide mission. Just the list of characters was what interested me about this. I'm like, ooh, interesting bunch. I'm not going to dawdle because I've got quite a few to go. Next up I have The Watchmaker of Filigree Street by Natasha Pulley. It's a historical fiction, fantasy, steampunk, mystery with magical realism. Again, not something I'd normally pick up, but I'm, feeling in the mood for something different at the moment. So, it's set in 1883, and our main character, Thaniel Steepleton, returns home and finds his house has been broken into, but they didn't take anything. Instead, a gold watch was left on his pillow. A few months later, the mysterious pocket watch saves his life by drawing him away from an explosion that destroys Scotland Yard. So he goes in search of its maker, a lonely Japanese immigrant called Keita Mori. Keita seems like a kind and gentle sort of bloke, but a series of unexplained events suggests that he might be hiding something. Next up is Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. It's like a YA contemporary mystery / thriller. Ellingham Academy is a famous private school in Vermont, started by an early 20th century tycoon called Albert Ellingham. It only accepts the brightest thinkers, inventors, and artists. Shortly after the school opened, Albert's wife and daughter were kidnapped, and the only clue left behind was a mysterious note listing methods of murder signed by truly Devious. It became one of the great unsolved crimes of American history. Now we jump to the present, where true crime aficionado Stevie Bell is about to enter her first year of Ellingham Academy. And she has big plans. She is going to solve the cold case regarding Ellingham's wife and daughter. But she has to deal with her housemates, an inventor, a novelist, an actor, an artist, and a jokester. But apparently something strange is happening, and truly Devious makes a surprise reappearance, and death revisits Ellingham Academy. I read a little bit of the sample on Kindle, and it kind of drew me in, so I was like, I shouldn't buy it, but I'm gonna anyway. Yeah, I have a problem. Anyway, let's move on. Lots more to look at. Next up, I decided to try Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas, which looks like it's the first of like 7 books. No! I'm not sure I'm a fan of the trend towards really long series, but I've bought it now, so may as well give it a go. It's meant to be like a YA fantasy romance. Basically, after a year of hard labour in the salt mines, 18-year-old assassin Selena is offered her freedom by the Crown Prince in exchange for being his champion in a competition to find the new royal assassin, because that's the thing. If she beats all of her opponents, which include assassins and warriors who are being sponsored by members of the King's Council, she will serve her time as a royal assassin for 4 years, and then she'll be free. Apparently there's some sort of love triangle thing between her and the Crown Prince and the Captain of the Guard, but I'm not that interested in that at this point. What I am interested in is the fact that her competitors start dropping like flies, and Selena has to work out who the killer is before she's the next victim. My next one I bought just a couple hours ago because I saw somebody else had picked it up at a bookstore, and the actual book looked awesome. The cover was beautiful. There were illustrations. It was amazing. And I was like, I want it. I want it so much. It's called Ink by Alice Broadway. Apparently it's another first in the series. It's a YA fantasy dystopia. So, premise is every action, deed, significant event is tattooed on your skin. So, when Leora's father dies, she knows that he deserves to have his tattoos removed and made into a skin book to stand as a record of his good life. But then she discovers that his ink has been edited and his book is incomplete, and she wonders whether she really knew her father at all. So the question is, why was her father's life edited? Got 4 more. Dear Lord. Next up I have The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet, which is #1 in the Wayfarers series by Becky Chambers. It's a sci-fi space opera. Rosemary Harper joins the motley crew of the Wayfarer to explore space and get away from her old life and her past. It's chaotic and crazy, and she absolutely loves it. And then it becomes a bit more dangerous. The crew is offered a job which is to tunnel a wormhole through space to a distant planet, and there are crazy adventures and hijinks and life-threatening catastrophes and etc. So, sounds pretty cool to me. I think the next one I said in my last haul that I might get, and yeah, I went and got it, which is Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. It's a historical fiction, mythology retelling, romance, fantasy, LGBT. There's a lot of genres in there. So it starts with an awkward young prince called Patroclus. He's exiled to the court of King Peleus. He ends up being befriended by the prince Achilles, and they grow up and become young men skilled in the arts of war and medicine, and along the way their friendship deepens and becomes something more. Then Helen of Sparta is kidnapped, and Patroclus journeys with Achilles to Troy. And the years that follow test everything they hold dear, so it's like a retelling of the Trojan War. It's also meant to be a devastating love story, which doesn't bode well. I'm hoping for a happy ending, but yep, it doesn't sound like a happy ending to me. Next up, I have bought City of Glass by S.A. Chakraborty. It's a YA historical fiction fantasy, and another first in the series. I'm cursed. I hate waiting for the next book. Ugh. Nari is a con woman working the streets of Cairo in the 18th century. Her trade consists of palm readings and czars and healings, but they're all tricks to swindle Ottoman nobles. They're not actually real magic. But when Nari accidentally summons a mysterious jinn warrior during one of her cons, she is forced to accept that magic is real. Her only wish has been to one day leave Cairo, and, well, careful what you wish for. She ends up in the legendary city of Brass, which is Dayevabad, and there are many, many dangers. Finally, I have Furyborne by Claire Legrand. It's a pre-order. It's YA fantasy, first in the Imperium series. Basically, there are two queens centuries apart. One's destined to wreak destruction, and the other is destined to save the world. Riel reveals her ability to be able to perform all seven kinds of elemental magic when her best friend, the Crown Prince, is attacked by an assassin. Then she has to complete 7 trials to prove that she is the Sun Queen. And if she fails, she's going to be executed. 1,000 years later, Eliana, a bounty hunter, believes that Riel is just a fairy tale. She embraced violence when the Empire conquered her kingdom, and she believes she's untouchable until her mother disappears, along with a whole lot of other women in the city. In order to find her mum, she joins a rebel captain and goes on a dangerous mission. And the evil at the heart of the Empire is more terrible than she could have imagined. So it's a cosmic war that's been fought over millennia, and Riel and Eliana's lives intersect, and those connections between them will ultimately determine the fate of their world and each other. Alright, so that's my May book haul. So subscribe below. If you want notifications, hit the bell. Thanks for watching, and hope to see you again. Bye.